Imagine flying from Miami to Sydney. That's a 17-hour flight. You land, you're exhausted, you've lost an entire day to time zones, and then you realize you miscalculated. You thought the concert was tomorrow. It's tonight. Do you go home and sleep? Do you call it? Absolutely not. You call yourself a zombie, you get dressed, and you walk into that stadium. That's exactly what one group of Bad Bunny fans last Saturday night in Sydney did. And honestly, that story alone tells you everything you need to know about the kind of energy Bad Bunny's first ever Australian show was carrying before a single note was even played. Tonight, we're breaking down the whole night. The fans, the atmosphere, the set list, the moments that had people in tears, and why this concert is already being talked about as one of the most memorable shows of the year. Let's get into it. A quick pause. Welcome to Inside the Heist. If you're enjoying this video, please subscribe, as that will help us on our long way to YouTube monetization. Now back to the video. Before we get into the show itself, I need to give you a little context, because if you don't understand the backstory here, you won't fully appreciate why this night hit the way it did. Latin artists almost never tour Australia. It's far, it's expensive to route logistically, and for years, the music industry has just looked at the numbers and said, not worth it. Which means the enormous, passionate Latin American and Caribbean diaspora living in Australia, Chileans, Colombians, Puerto Ricans, Uruguayans, Argentinians, Brazilians, Venezuelans, have spent years watching their favorite artists announce world tours and skip the country entirely. You stream the albums, you follow the tour updates, you watch the concert footage on YouTube, but that live experience, being in a room with thousands of people who know every word, who share your culture, your language, your history, that's something this community has largely been denied. So when Bad Bunny, who has just been named Spotify's most streamed artist globally, who just won the Grammy for Album of the Year with the first predominantly Spanish-language album to ever do so, who just headlined the Super Bowl halftime show, when he announced 2 nights at Engie Stadium in Sydney, the community lost their minds. Uruguayan-Australian content creator Pedro Cucavio Vitola, who brilliantly calls himself a self-appointed Bad Bunny correspondent, ran into Benito outside a Sydney cafe in the lead-up to the shows and posted a photo. His inbox flooded overnight. Fans flying in from Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, New Zealand, people booking last-minute flights from other countries entirely. Pedro described it simply, "For us, it's like Christmas." That's not hyperbole. That's a community finally getting the night they've been waiting for. Now, let me set the scene outside Engie Stadium, because this concert didn't start when the lights went down. It started the moment people arrived. Hours before doors opened, Olympic Park was already a full-on party. Bars at capacity, impromptu street gatherings spilling across the precinct. Flags from every Latin American nation waving in the Sydney air. Traditional Puerto Rican straw hats, pavas, dotted the crowd everywhere you looked. There's Lorena, who showed up with a contingent of more than 20 Chilean Australians. 20 people, all there for Benito. She looked around at the packed precinct hours before showtime and asked, "Have you ever been to a concert 3 hours early and felt this vibe?" Right on cue, someone nearby started a spontaneous chant of "Viva Chile!" which kind of answered her question. There's Maricela, born in Puerto Rico, living in Sydney for 12 years. She told reporters this was a very emotional moment that's been years in the making. She talked about her son, born in Australia, and how important it is to keep that Caribbean and Latin American connection alive from the other side of the world. She also pointed out that Bad Bunny had timed these shows to coincide with Sydney's gay and lesbian Mardi Gras, a deliberate nod to his well-known allyship with the LGBTQ community. And then there's Aleida, 62 years old, proud Puerto Rican, had just flown in from Miami via a stop at Bad Bunny's recent concert in Brazil. She and her group didn't account for the time difference and genuinely thought the show was the following night. They arrived at the stadium running on essentially no sleep. Her assessment of the situation? We're zombies, but we're going to enjoy it. Iconic. Truly iconic. And then there's Franca. She's 68 years old. She discovered Bad Bunny in her Zumba classes. She watched the Super Bowl halftime show in bed on YouTube, realized she knew every single song, and had one thought. This guy is hot, and I could be his mother. 2 weeks before the show, she bought a single ticket. She did her research, right down. Her words, and I quote, right down to the Calvin Klein underwear. Franca is the hero of this story. Franca is what music is for. Inside the stadium, the energy carried right through. Fans of all ages, genuinely all ages, packed in wearing pavas and waving flags from across Latin America. Puerto Rican openers Chewy got a warm reception from a crowd already buzzing. Then, over the PA, Cariñito by Los Hijos del Sol, a beloved, nostalgic Latin classic, the kind of song older generations grew up with and younger generations learned from their parents. The entire stadium just started singing it together, a cappella, before the main show even started. Then came the chants, Benito, Benito, Benito. And then he appeared. Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio stepped out on the stage surrounded, not separated, from fans in the up-close Los Vecinos sections right at stage level. No barricade energy, no untouchable God-on-high staging. He was among his people. The enormous screens caught his face in super high definition, and what you could see in that expression was genuine, unperformed awe. This man has played stadiums on every continent. He has performed in front of millions, and in that moment, he looked truly moved to be standing in Sydney. He was wearing a crisp cream suit, which sounds simple, but it looked incredible. Phase 1, the crooner. Here's what surprised a lot of people, especially those who only know Bad Bunny from his more aggressive trap and reggaeton records. The show did not open with a banger. It opened slow, soulful, almost cinematic. La Mudanza, Nuayol, gorgeous, warm, nostalgic tracks that felt like a gentle settling in. Like Benito was saying, before we go anywhere, let's just be here for a moment. The full salsa band flanking him was charismatic and tight. The camera lanyards fans had been given at the gate lit up across the stadium, turning 50,000 people into a living, breathing constellation. And the crowd, completely full of people who had been hyped up for hours, received it perfectly. No one was impatient, no one was calling for the bangers. Everyone just let themselves feel it. That's a testament both to how much this audience trusted Benito and to how well crafted this opening was. Phase 2, La Casita. Then the energy shifted completely, and I mean completely. A second stage had been built in the middle of the floor, designed to look like a traditional Puerto Rican home, La Casita, and the moment Benito moved there, the whole vibe transformed. Titi Me Preguntó dropped, and the crowd went from emotional to absolutely unleashed in about 4 seconds. Me Porto Bonito followed. The VIP sections closest to La Casita were losing it. The feedback loop between the stage and the crowd in these moments was, by all accounts, electric in a way that's hard to put into words. And here's the thing about the show's structure that is genuinely smart. By building you up slowly in Phase 1, by making you feel something first, the reggaeton hits in Phase 2 don't just land, they explode. You're already open, you're already invested. So when the beat drops, it doesn't just hit your ears, it hits your whole body. The moment that silenced everyone, El Apagón. Mid-show, the energy shifted again, this time into something heavier. Bad Bunny performed El Apagón. For anyone who doesn't know the song, it's named after Puerto Rico's chronic rolling blackouts, the result of a crumbling power grid, years of governmental neglect, and the long wait of colonialism on the island. It's a protest song. It's a love letter. It's a refusal to give up on home even when home has been failed by the people supposed to protect it. And performed in that stadium, in front of Puerto Rican flags and pavas, in front of a diaspora that knows intimately what it means to leave your homeland and carry it with you, that song landed on a level that no setlist description can fully capture. This is what Bad Bunny separates him from being merely a great entertainer. He never lets the party become an escape from reality. He keeps the history right there alongside the dancing. He holds both at once.
The Australian moment. Then, because Benito clearly has an excellent sense of humor, came the interlude everyone's talking about. His signature cartoon mascot, Sapo Concho, appeared on the big screens and proceeded to rattle off a list of Australian delicacies: chicken parmy, Vegemite, Lamingtons. The Australian contingent in the crowd went absolutely ballistic. The Latin Diaspora fans thought it was hilarious. Franca probably felt personally addressed. It sounds like a small moment, but it was actually a very smart one. It told the crowd, I didn't just land here. I paid attention. I looked you up. I know where I am, and I'm happy to be here. That kind of specificity, that acknowledgement, means more than people give it credit for. The finale. Back to the main stage for the closing run, and this is where the night reached its peak. Ojitos Lindos, featuring Bomba Estéreo, filled the stadium with this euphoric, shimmering energy that felt almost overwhelmingly beautiful. Fireworks started going off. The crowd was fully delirious at this point in the best possible way. Then, Bad Bunny stood at the front of the stage and addressed the crowd, almost entirely in Spanish, and the crowd cheered louder for the Spanish than they would have for English, which itself was a moment. He told everyone to live in the present, to love without fear. Then DTMF, then AO. The finale hit in a full storm of confetti, fireworks, and the kind of collective euphoria that only happens when a crowd has been perfectly built up and perfectly released. 2.5 hours, not a single wasted moment. A show with a genuine structure, a genuine arc, a beginning and a middle and an end. That's rare. That's craft. Section 4. After the show, Strangers in the Rain, 9:30 to 11:30. And then it started raining. The Sydney sky opened up as the crowds streamed out of Engie Stadium, and nobody, not one person, seemed particularly bothered by it. People were walking slowly through the wet Olympic Park precinct, phones out, showing strangers the videos they'd filmed. Groups that had met in the queue 3 hours earlier were swapping numbers. People were singing, softly to themselves, the residue of the show still living in their bodies. Some had very long nights ahead of them, late trains, long drives, early flights. Aleida and her group of Miami Zalmis presumably had a 17-hour flight back at some point to think about. But in that moment, coming out of the stadium, none of that seemed to matter. There's a specific feeling after a truly great concert, one that really meant something, where the world outside the venue seems slightly softer than it did before you went in, where strangers feel less like strangers, where the fluorescent lights on the train home don't quite manage to kill the glow you're carrying. That's what people were walking out into in Sydney. Maricela had said before the show that this was a very emotional moment that's been years in the making. And looking at the faces coming out of that stadium, across generations, across nationalities, across Latin America and the Caribbean and Puerto Rico and Australia itself, you could see exactly what she meant. For the Latin American and Caribbean diaspora in Australia, this night was more than a great concert. It was proof that they're visible, that their culture travels, that one of the biggest artists on the planet looked at a touring schedule and said, I want to go there. I want to show up for them. That's not something you can measure in streaming numbers. It's not in the Grammy statistics or the Super Bowl ratings. It lives in the people who were in that stadium and in the ones who are going to be talking about this night for years. Outro. Bad Bunny, first ever Australian shows. a diaspora community that's been waiting years for exactly this moment. Lorena and her army of 20 Chilean Australians, Maricela keeping Caribbean culture alive for her Australian-born son, Aleida, Zombie, Miami, Brazil, Sydney, absolutely refusing to miss it, and Franca, 68, Zumba, YouTube, Kelvin Klein, one single ticket, showing up anyway. A cream suit and a salsa band, La Casita going absolutely feral, El Apagón bringing a moment of stillness in the middle of the party, Sapo Concho listing Australian snacks, fireworks, rain, strangers walking out as friends. This is what it looks like when an artist really shows up for their people, not just performs, shows up, and a community responds with everything they've got. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Were you at the show? What was the moment that got you? And if you're part of the Latin diaspora in Australia, what did this night mean to you? Drop it all below. Like the video if it was worth your time, subscribe if you want more like this, and I'll see you in the next one.